The 2025 Malaysian Motorcycle Grand Prix is done and dusted, and despite having secured his third pole positions in a row at Sepang, Pecco Bagnaia will have to again close the flyaway races in a disappointing state. But then again, without further ado, here are my 5 topics to comment about the Malaysian GP. Never before in the 76 years history of MotoGP that two brothers locked the top 2 spots in the final classification, and that's exactly what the Marquez brothers do in this 2025 season. Alex closed the Malaysian GP with a commanding win, 2.6 seconds to the next best rider by the finish line. Alex being good at Sepang isn't really a surprising thing. The past 2 years he was already that good and consistent at Sepang, especially that rubbish sprint win in 2023 where he won by a commanding lead, and also in the main race he finished second to Enea Bastianini, ahead of Pecco Bagnaia again, of course, in that race in 2023. And last year in 2024, he finished a respectable 4th place. So now that he started second on the grid, Alex, this win isn't really a surprising thing. But we can't really ignore the fact that Pecco did have a mechanical issue, and he might already have it during the entirety of the race, but the bike just gave up in the last 3 laps. But judging by the timetable, it is clear that Alex was the one having the advantage over Pecco. Alex did get the fastest lap by I think he was the only one who gets into the 158 area in the lap time. I think it was a 158.9, and the next best rider was a 159 in the fastest lap classification. So Alex did really have the pace, but we knew since yesterday that Pecco was having that ride height device problem in his bike, and it might be something that affect his race today. And yeah, the bike just gave up in the last 3 laps. But we don't really know. I don't really know. I haven't read the news. This is just like a few. I think this is just like what 2 hours after the race, so I can't really confirm anything as of yet. Having the talent but not the tools is how Pedro described his situation right now, with that KTM RC16 being unable to challenge for wins once again in the warm atmosphere of Sepang. But on a positive note, at least he wasn't a sitting duck near the end stages of the race due to tire deck, a problem that haunts KTM, especially Pedro, throughout the entirety of the season. He was menacing in the first 2/3 of the race, and then he dropped back. It happened in Catalunya, it happened in Balaton Park, it happened in Phillip Island a week ago. So yeah, it really hindered Pedro's progression in his career. He still hasn't won a race yet, not even rubbish sprint. And to see his childhood friend / rival Fermin Aldeguer already winning a race at Mandalika, surely this is just hurt Pedro. And how much patience and faith does he have in KTM? It's being put to the test, to the absolute test. I don't think he's going to stay at KTM if KTM doesn't really do anything with this situation coming to the new regulation in 2027. Frankie was absolutely nowhere during the entire weekend at Phillip Island. Both races, the rubbish sprint as well as the main Grand Prix, he finished a lowly 15th. 15th! You don't get points finishing 15th in the rubbish sprint. So in the main race, he was a whopping 27.8 seconds behind winner Raul. So it was just a messy weekend in the Australian GP for Mobido. And despite starting the Malaysian GP a bit off the pace, he was like, what, 14th in FP1. He managed to put that GP24 third on the grid to start both the rubbish sprint as well as the main race. He crossed the line in a respectable 4th. Well, he was actually promoted to 4th, knowing that Bagnaia will have to retire the bike. But at the very least, he was running 5th before that, so that was really a respectable one. But yeah, again, he need to kind of really fix his start. He was having a bad start, that's why he dropped a few positions at the beginning, and he had to climb back to that 4th place. But then again, it's a solid bounce back for Mobido. Having been able to run a pretty quick pace during the entire weekend, Joan was expected to salvage at the very least 2 top 5 finishes. But in the classic Joan fashion, he binned it while running 4th during the rubbish sprint. It was just such a dejected and gutted moment. Even himself, he was like bewildered by the fact that he crashed yet again. A classic front end wash for the 28-year-old Spaniard. But came Sunday, he again found himself running in 4th. But that wasn't without a fight. He had to fight the likes of Fabio Quartararo, Frankie Mobido, the guys that are really difficult to overtake, and he did bring that RC213V in a very messy and wild, sliding all over the place, but he kept it this time around. He stayed on the bike. That bike isn't giving up, nor that he gave up on the bike. And when Pecco's bike decided to stop working properly, Joan automatically inherited that third place, making his crew chief Santi Hernandez sweating profusely in the last 3 laps. Like, he was really concerned. You can see it in Santi's face that he was really afraid for Joan to bin it again in a classic Mir fashion. But he crossed the finish line this time, a second podium in 4 races for Joan, the 2020 world champion. 2 podiums in the 4 flyaway races. That is just so good. I got a glimpse of the 2020 Joan Mir. You know how he won that title in 2020, right? He was being so consistent. He was able to salvage podiums here and there, capitalizing on others' mistake. That was the Joan that we saw in the 2020, and that's what perfectly what I saw in this race today at Sepang. I really expect a lot more from Joan. It's just so sad to see him in this state now. Only 2 podiums now in the last 3 years now, from 2023 to 2025. I really hope Honda will give him something good to be able to fight at least top 5 finishes, because we do know that Joan is just he's good enough to fight in top 5 finishes. We surely remember how Pecco opened the flyaway races with a dominant double victory even. The rubbish sprint as well he won at Motegi. It was also just in time for Mark to lock his 7th title in the Premier class. But after that brilliant performance, Pecco had to close the flyaway races with three consecutive retirements at Phillip Island, at Mandalika, and now at Sepang. Boy, he was nowhere near even the top 10 at both Mandalika and Phillip Island. And now at Sepang, despite snatching his 3rd pole positions in a row at Sepang, winning the rubbish sprint and reclaiming that 3rd spot in the championship, he had to retire once again due to mechanical failure while running 3rd. And to add salt to injury, he was of course demoted once again to 4th in the championship. Marco Bezzecchi, despite finishing in 11th, he reclaimed that 3rd in the championship now by 5 points. Wait, is it 5 points? Yeah, I think it is 5 points. Ahead of Pecco. It was just, I was so dejected, man. I was so dejected. This is just a nightmare season, truly a nightmare season for Pecco. He was never this bad during the flyaway races. Like in 2022, he did crash at Motegi, but he was able to salvage 3rd place at Phillip Island and another win at Sepang. And in 2023, he was able to finish all the flyaway races inside the podium. But this time, man, just 1 victory at Motegi and 3 consecutive retirements. When you see his eyes coming to the paddock, you got a glimpse of his expression inside the helmet. You see those eyes are just dry. He can't even cry anymore, I guess. Those eyes can't even produce tears anymore. The same as my eyes. I can't really produce tears anymore seeing Pecco like this. Not to mention that there's a possibility of crack in the relationship between Pecco and Ducati, especially Pecco and Gigi, not necessarily Davide Tardozzi. So yeah, I think that's it that I can talk about for this Malaysian GP. It was pretty boring because once Alex overtook Pecco for the lead, he was just sailing off at the front and he was untouchable basically. So yeah, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below, like and subscribe for more, and until we meet again.